I'm Mo Rocca, and I'm excited to announce Season 4 of my podcast, Mobituaries. I've got a whole new bunch of stories to share with you about the most fascinating people and things who are no longer with us. From famous figures who died on the very same day, to the things I wish would die, like buffets. All that and much more. Listen to Mobituaries with Mo Rocca wherever you get your podcasts.
There's always something beneath the surface. Hi, I'm Anita Joyce, here with Kelly Wilkness, and this is Decorating Tips and Tricks, Demystifying Neutral Colors. I am ready to demystify.
I love how you brought us into this episode. There is something beneath the surface. It's lurking in all of your neutrals, and it's undertones. And we're going to tell you about them today and help you recognize them.
Well, should we talk first about why you would even want to have a neutral room and what that really is?
Yeah.
Well, when we say neutral, we really don't mean without color, because it does mean without color, but there's going to be some color in the room. We mean colors that go with every color. So we're talking beige, white, gray, ivory, and really even black, because these are all the colors that really work with blues, reds, greens, pinks, purples, oranges. Whatever color you throw at them, they're going to work with them.
Neutrals, like you say, work with everything. They can be the base. They also show off other items that are more colorful. And yeah, it's not a complete lack of color. There is some color to them, but they're not colors that appear on the color wheel, and they're not colors that are easily discernible. With a neutral, there are undertones to the neutrals, and it's very helpful to understand what undertones there are, which ones are going to show up in the colors that you're choosing. Now, we're talking about really paint color today, but it can play into other aspects and other things that are neutrals, but it's not anywhere as prevalent as it is in a paint color.
The other reason I think it's great to use neutrals is because they have such a calming effect on the room. If you want a very peaceful feeling, if you are jostled around by life during the day, it's nice to come home to a neutral room that feels very peaceful and not too energetic. So it's kind of a feeling that you want to have. Another benefit that I've always touted about neutral rooms is that they are good for the long haul. If you don't want to have to replace your furniture very often, I highly recommend using neutrals, because the patterns and the colors are what go out of style. Rarely does the color white or cream or beige or gray, as far as bedding or a chair, rarely does that really go out of style. But once you start getting into patterns and blues, they come and go. And there's a 1990s blue, and there's maybe a 2015 blue. So this is a way to really keep your costs down if you want to spend some money on a sofa or other big ticket items. You go with the neutrals. And then if you want the color in the room, you dress it up with throws and pillows and other accessories.
Excellent point. It's also a great way to go when you need to unify a space. A lot of people live in open concept homes, or you buy an older home and you might want to take a wall down for some reason, and all of a sudden you have this big space. Well, that's very difficult to paint a really bright color or intense color. It's better to go with a neutral, and then you can have all the rooms be the same color and flow from one to the next.
Yeah. And another thing I love about neutral colors or a neutral style is that it really works with whatever kind of style you want to go with. Pretty much, you can do the French, you can do country, you can do traditional, contemporary, modern. You can work just about any type of furniture in with neutral colors. So it's the chameleon. It really goes with everything. And just because you have a neutral room does not mean you cannot have any color in the room. I really feel like the neutral rooms do better if you do have just a little bit of a splash of color here or there. I think they can tend to be boring So it is nice to add a little bit in.
Right. It's a nice foil. It's a nice backdrop for adding any sorts of color or for art or what have you. All these good things about neutrals. They sort of go everywhere. They belong everywhere. But there's a caveat to that. And that's what the whole episode is about today, is that while neutrals in general can work in any space, not every specific neutral can work in every space because of these undertones. We're going to go through the different undertones that exist and ones you should look for and how you can pick them out, because it's very challenging to discern the undertone from a small paint chip.
Well, and while we're talking about undertones, I think this brings up the biggest example I have of undertones, and that is the color gray. Gray is such a classic color. It's beautiful. I think it's going to be around forever, but it's gotten, I think, a bad name lately. One reason is because I think it has been overused, which I agree with. But I see the real problem with people not liking gray is that I think a lot of people chose a gray with a blue undertone, and the blue undertone gave it a very cool and cold feeling, a very industrial feeling that really turned people off, and people don't like it, especially in their home. It can feel a little bit like a service station, to be honest. That's why I feel like it's really important to think about these undertones, because it does impact the way the color is coming across. If you choose a gray with a warmer undertone, you are going to be happier, in my opinion, with that gray for the long haul.
Oh, yes. I have a blog post, my 2 favorite grays. It is probably one of my most popular blog posts. I mean, I can't even tell you the number of comments that I have gotten over the years, and people then emailing me on the side. They read my article, but what do I think in their particular, and they're north facing and this and that and the other thing. Gray is hard to get right. So what we're talking about with the undertone, so you have the color, and that's primarily what it is, whether it's a gray or a beige or a white. But underneath that, there's a small amount of, could be blue, could be green. With a gray, it could even be purple. But there's a small amount of that undertone in there. And really, depending upon the light that you get in your room and also what you choose to put in the room, that undertone can present itself in almost in the forefront, just stronger than you want it to. And
well,
in
you're
an
100%
unexpected
right.
way.
You can't really tell from a small little chip.
Right.
Sometimes what that undertone is, and it may seem like, oh, maybe there's a little bit of a pink undertone here, but then you put it on all the walls in your bathroom and the light is bouncing off of every wall and converging and kind of slapping you in the face, and it starts feeling like the room is a pink room. You really do have to be careful about these undertones, because you can be quite surprised once you start painting an entire wall.
So let's just run through some of the undertones that do present themselves, and I'll just read the list, and then we're going to talk more about how you can recognize them and how best to use and select neutrals for the home that you either have currently and the decor you have, or the look that you want to go for. And we're going to give you some ideas on specific paints, right, Anita? We both have a short list of some that
I have a few, sure.
Okay, so you got blue gray. So gray being your neutral, but blue being your undertone. So the undertone I'm going to say in the front: green beige, yellow beige, pink beige. Pink beige shows up a lot in bathrooms for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Orange beige. Let's just go back to Tuscany, or faux Tuscany, right? Because that came about a lot around that time period. Gold beige, kind of the same feel, and like a taupey undertone. That's the beige and gray undertones. And then you could have a green gray, different than a blue gray, right? And as I mentioned, even a purple gray. So they're different undertones depending upon what the main color is, and they can show up. Yeah, like you didn't invite them, but they showed up to your walls. Like, yikes. What happens too is when people are decorating and they want to refresh and they're seeing a lot of the grays out there, but they have tile or cabinetry that was more reminiscent of the Tuscan phase, or they have a bathroom that has these pink undertones in the tile, in the granite, maybe in the cabinetry. And then they want to choose a really crisp white or a true gray or even a blue gray. And they try to pair it with these other items that have different undertones. And that's when it becomes a disaster.
Oh, yeah. Those yellow undertones. I think that's another thing we need to talk about are warm colors and cool colors, because sometimes those really don't play well together. Yeah. And cool colors are the colors that you think of associated with the ocean, kind of the blues and the greens. Those are considered cool colors. Now, if you're talking, and they actually recede in a space and make the room feel larger, whereas warm colors you think of as associated with fire, red, orange, yellow. And then the cool colors would be the blue, the green, the violet. And so that's kind of how it gets the thought of the cool and the warm. But the warm colors usually there's a little bit of yellow in most of the warm colors. And sometimes that really doesn't look that great next to some of the cool colors. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, you have to really be, first of all, if you're going to be redecorating and you want to use some of the newer, I mean, I say newer, but they're not really new or neutrals. They're just, the grays and other neutrals that are a little bit crisper and fresher are just really on trend now and have been for a while. So if you want to freshen up your home with that, you have to really take stock first in what do you have. If you're not going to be able to change your floor tile and it has like these green undertones and whatnot, you're going to have to be really careful with the neutrals that you pick.
Yeah, actually, we used a white granite in our kitchen, and it's got some warm brownish grays in it. There's kind of some brown and a little bit of gray, and it wasn't a pure white like marble. And so I could not use a pure white backsplash. I felt like that was going to make the countertop look really dingy, because it definitely had some yellow hints here and there in the granite, because it had some of the kind of the browns and the little yellow undertones with the gray. So I had to be really careful. Because it did have some of the grays in there, I was able to use a blue-gray tile for the background, and it works very well. But again, a bright white tile or paint, you have to be very careful what it's next to, because if it's next to something with some yellow undertones, whatever that is that has yellow undertones in it, it's going to look dingy.
Yes, and actually I was thinking about what you had shared about your granite and your backsplash tile when I was getting ready for this episode, because I wanted to say it's really not even all about paint, but paint is the most obvious thing and the easiest thing for people to switch out. But yeah, if you had just said to yourself, I want white subway tile. I've pinned it 1,000 times. This is what I want. And you purchased that, it would have looked not anything like what you have going on.
I would have been so upset. It just would not have looked well. In fact, because the backsplash is this blue-gray and I had the granite countertop that is not actually a pure white, I had to be very careful about my white cabinets. And they're actually called eider white. It's really a very light, it's white with a gray undertone. And I had to do that with the cabinets so that they didn't fight with that backsplash and the countertop.
Right. Because all these undertones showed up. And really, when it's done well, like Anita's kitchen, which is so stunning, and I'm sure you've all seen it on her blog and Instagram and various places. I've been fortunate enough to see it in real life. It's even better in real life. But all the pieces obviously work together, but all the undertones work together. And that's kind of where the magic is too, in the whole design.
Well, and I had the same issue because I wanted to paint the cabinets at our farm, at our little farmhouse. I went a little crazy when we put the granite in. I wanted black, but I thought, I just want to do something different. This was 10 years ago. And so I went with that brown granite that now I'm sorry I put in. It's got brown and gray and black specks. So it's a little harder to work with. So when I went with the paint color for the cabinets, again, it wasn't a clear choice. I could not paint the cabinets white. Also, I had a tumbled marble backsplash. So it was kind of a yellowy, creamy white backsplash. So I could not go with the pure white cabinets. And I ended up going with gray cabinets with a little bit of a green undertone because that's what went with the countertop the best.
If something's there, you have to work with what's there, or you made a choice and then you got to keep going in that same direction.
Hey, we'll be right back with the rest of the show, but keep listening so we can continue bringing you DTT. Pesto pork chops over Parmesan polenta. Not that easy to say, but oh so easy to make with Green Chef. Green Chef is the #1 meal kit company for eating well, and we have such a great deal for you. You're going to save $250. Listen on for the details on that. Green Chef makes eating well easy for any lifestyle, whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, or just looking to eat more balanced meals. You know, we're getting into the busy holiday season, so it's a perfect time to have Green Chef help you out. Let Green Chef take the work out of eating clean this holiday season with their chef-crafted, nutritionist-approved recipes featuring fresh ingredients and nothing artificial. And you know what? You don't have to lose track of your healthy eating habits during the holidays. Every Green Chef customer gets a free session with their registered dietitians who will walk you through how to make clean eating work for you. So sign up for your free session and start on the road towards better health today. And that deal I want to tell you about, visit greenchef.com/DTT250 and use the code DTT250 for $250 off your order. So that's greenchef.com/DTT250 and use the code DTT250 for $250 off your order. BritBox just keeps getting better. The new Archie is amazing. And it's not the comics. It's about Cary Grant. Archie is the brand new limited series starring Jason Isaacs as Archie Leach, the man who became Cary Grant. From the award-winning screenwriter of Philomena, Archie tells Grant's born in Britain, made in Hollywood story, the dramatic grit to glamour transformation that led him to become one of the most famous people in the world. You are going to absolutely love the acting, but also the styling, the outfits, the scenery. It's the first time his story has been told in collaboration with his daughter Jennifer Grant and ex-wife Diane Cannon. The performances from Jason Isaacs and the rest of the cast are amazing, and it's only available on BritBox. So sign up for BritBox today to stream Archie and other fan favorites from any device. And we have a special limited time offer for our U.S. and Canadian listeners. Get 50% off, yes, that's 50% off your first month when you sign up for a monthly plan. But only if you go to BritBox.com and use our promotion code DTT at checkout. You're going to love Archie. So head over right now and get 50% off your first month of BritBox. Use the promotion code DTT at BritBox.com.
How do you think you can best figure out what the undertones are, say, of your existing infrastructure, if you will, like your floors or your bathrooms or your kitchens? How would you go about trying to figure out what tones were present?
Look at it. I mean, if
God,
you look,
isn't she amazing, you guys?
How else are you going to tell them except by
Looking
looking
with
at
your
it?
spidey senses. Yeah, but here's the thing. Okay, look at it. Okay, thanks. Thanks, Anita. Okay, let me just say.
Okay, well, maybe, but see, I think I approach things a little differently than other people. And I can tell from the podcast that you have a little, even though I'm the analytical.
Looking.
No. Even though I'm the analytical person, I do not approach things in a structured way like that. I don't even kind of try to figure out what it is that the undertone is. I'm just looking to see what's going to go with it.
Okay.
So I don't really care what it is. I'm just kind of looking to say, I just can look at it and go, that's not going to go with this. So I'm putting the paint chips next to it or the tile, and I'm looking at it to say, is this going to go? I mean, the yellow.
Yeah. But this is before you even have other things. You're just looking at it for the first time. Like, so you're obviously with your eyes, you're looking to see. I would want to see it in different times a day too. I would suggest that getting a lot of different samples and not just these little tiny bits of paint.
And often the people picking the paint, I shouldn't say often, but sometimes people picking the paint were not looking at that, paying attention to it, and kind of missed the boat. And to be honest with you, I think we got a good price on a house one time because the house looked a little on the pink side when you looked at it. And I think everybody said, I don't want that house.
Well, yeah.
I know. And I said, oh, well, we'll take it for this and then we'll just paint it.
Yeah, we'll just paint it. Yeah, you can fix that. You just looked at it and it was pink. Those other people didn't even know what color it was.
Well, I think they looked at it and went, I don't like it. I don't know what. I just don't like it.
Right?
No, I think they could see it. I think everyone could. I don't have special powers.
But yeah, but there are also these neutrals that people default to. Like, I can't tell you how many people, for whatever reason, that I know that have Swiss coffee paint color. Now, I'm not dissing anybody that has Swiss coffee. If they like it, I don't like it. Anytime I've seen it, it kind of looks a little dirty. Default neutrals that are out there that either a paint store might suggest to you, a builder might have on their short list of ones that you can choose, or you might have heard of. But there are so many neutrals out there, which is part of why it's overwhelming. But when you understand what's going on in the undertones, you curate your own universe. Oh, okay, I know I need something with a green undertone. And so then you're going to wipe out all the other 8 undertones that we talked about and focus on the colors, the neutrals that have green, if that's what you need, and vice versa for any of the others. So don't just choose one because it's the neutral that was presented to you. Don't default to the Swiss coffees or, the decorator white. Explore all the other options that are out there. And with this information that you have, discern the undertones and how to make it work for you, because when you get it, it just works beautifully. And the undertone will then, it adds to it rather than detracting from what you're trying to do.
And I think people look at something and they can kind of go, this isn't working, but they may not be aware of the fact that it's the undertones that are fighting.
So you want to talk about a few colors that we know are pretty great in the neutrals department?
Well, my favorite is the Sherwin-Williams Agreeable Gray. I've used that extensively, and it is a very warm gray. It works very well with golds, and it is not a cool gray. So this is going to be something that's going to work well no matter what is in the room. So that is why it's so agreeable.
Oh, there you go.
Yes, that's right. Revere Pewter by Benjamin Moore.
Hey, that's on my list.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
All right. That's a lovely greige. Well, maybe I better stop because maybe I'm going to be saying some of the same ones you are.
That's okay. Somebody's got to say it. Go ahead.
Benjamin Moore Gray. That's a kind of a gunmetal gray. And it's similar to a blackboard. And I think it's just called gray. That's all I could find on that one. That one was beautiful. Benjamin Moore Huntington White. It's a soft, creamy white. And I also I used on the exterior of our home, Sherwin-Williams Natural Choice, which is a very warm white.
Oh, that's a pretty color. I never asked you what that color was.
And just one or two more. Blue Leaning White is Farrow and Ball. That's a pale blue color. It's a light gray blue. It's really pretty.
They're telling you, thank you, Farrow and Ball. They're telling you the undertone in the name. That's nice.
Yes, I know. That is nice.
Right? Wouldn't that be a great thing to add to a paint chip if you had the chip or the fan deck? Wouldn't that be great on the back if it said undertone is? I mean, they know they're making the color.
If you get the fan deck, if you get the card and you'll see that color as it gets more saturated, you can usually see what that undertone is because it gets more and more concentrated.
Right.
Like you can see which direction it's headed.
That's a good point. Really, really simple example. Let's pick up pink. And what if it started out as a white, right? And then it's going up and up and up. And the last one is pink. Well, yeah, duh.
There's your undertone right
is
there.
Pink. But if you have those single chips, it's very hard to tell.
Yes, I agree. And then the last one I have, it is called Barrista.
Oh,
Benjamin Moore.
That's a nice name. Okay, so I am going to give you my 2 favorite grays that I think are pretty true to color. These really don't have much of an undertone. These are pretty pure grays and stay gray on the wall, in my experience, in the experience of many people that read my blog and came back and commented and said they used them and had the same experience. Huntington gray, and then silver chain, also Benjamin Moore. And then my white is simply white, definitely a warm white, because I use so much white. I wanted it to be a warm undertone, but it's very slight, but definitely not a cold white. There's some others that I've heard about, but I have not used personally. Gray cashmere from Benjamin Moore. I've heard that that is a lovely neutral. I don't know, have not used it personally. And then Farrow and Ball Pavilion Gray. An episode that I thought might be interesting. Is it really worth it to get super expensive paint? All the paint companies have different lines and levels of paint. Is it worth it? Is the pigmentation, so incredibly off the charts that it's worth spending this much money on it?
So as we've discussed, all neutrals have some sort of undertone. There are a few that are really pure, and that's two of those grays that I talked about, and there are some pure whites. But most whites in particular are going to read with some type of undertone. And you may be surprised what that is when you paint the walls. So we want to make sure that you know how to discern that before you get to the actual painting part. A really great tip to discern the undertone in a white paint is take the paint chip and hold it up against a plain piece of printer paper. And the undertone should jump right off the page, literally at you. Try it. I know you're going to be able to see what we can see. So let's get on to our DTT Defines.
Today, DTT defines kantha quilt. Kantha simply means patched cloth, and that refers both to the tradition of making quilted blankets from discarded fabric as well as the actual stitching itself. It's a type of quilt native to Eastern South Asia, specifically Bangladesh. And these quilts are very different from American quilts in several ways, so I'm going to try to highlight those differences. But please keep in mind, I'm not a quilting expert, so if I say something wrong and you're a quilter, just let us know. The first difference is that the stitching is typically in a small, straight running stitch, and you usually don't see that in American quilts. The second difference is that often these are made from one large piece of fabric. They can also be made from smaller pieces of cloth patched together. I'd say most of the ones I see available for sale are the one large piece of cloth. And typically American quilts, as you know, are made from patched fabrics pieced together. Another difference is that American quilts use batting in between the layers of fabric. Now, the kantha quilts do not use batting, probably because it's such a warm climate. So it is 2 or 3 layers of a thin cotton fabric. So it would definitely be considered a summer weight quilt, which might feel really good tonight because it is super hot here in Texas right now. Lastly, I would say the last difference is that these are almost always made from block print fabrics native to the region. So they definitely have a distinctive look, very different from American quilts. I think their colors and patterns are really beautiful. So if you're looking for a one-of-a-kind quilt, I think this is the place to look.
Inevitably, with the new year come wellness goals. One very effective and easy to reach goal is to add dose to your wellness regime. Dose is expertly formulated organic wellness shots that support your liver in one delicious drink. Formulated with ingredients clinically shown to support liver health. Potent turmeric, milk thistle, and ginger. There's 0 sugar and 0 calories. Did you know that your liver performs over 500 special functions? Since I learned all that my liver is doing, I started with Dose to support all those vital functions. I take a shot of refreshing Dose 2 times per week to combat everyday toxins from food, meds, alcohol, and unhealthy air. Since starting with Dose about a month ago, I am definitely feeling an overall improvement in my health. So if you want to give Dose a shot and invest in your health like I have, Dose is offering DTT listeners 15% off your first order, plus an additional 15% off if you subscribe for a monthly delivery. That's 30% off your first order. So go to dosedaily.co/DTT and use the code DTT. That's dosedaily.co.co/DTT DTT, and use the code DTT. Go ahead, clean out your closet, then head straight to Quince. I love every item Quince offers, from wardrobe to decor, and I can really recommend their Ultra Stretch Super Wide Leg Pant at $49.90. The price is unbeatable, and the look is so flattering. It keeps you in on top and flares out of the bottom. Everything feels right with Quince. The price, the quality, and the sustainability. Quince offers a range of luxury wardrobe and home goods at prices within reach. And like Quince's clothing, their home goods are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices, along with premium fabrics and finishes. Once you've cleaned out your closet and refreshed with Quince, you can also add something to your home decor. So give your wardrobe and your home the refresh it needs with Quince. Go to quince.com/DTT to get free shipping and 365-day returns on your next order. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/DTT for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/DTT. And let me know how you love those pants.
So for my crush today, I thought I would select an Etsy shop that sells these quilts. So my crush is Verity Creations. And rather than read you every one of those letters, I'm just going to link to the shop so you'll find it. And that way you don't have to remember how to spell it. Now, I haven't ordered from this shop yet, but they have excellent reviews. And I really do hope to order one soon because I am so obsessed with these quilts. They are so beautiful. Each one is so unique, and they don't make a lot of each kind. So if you buy one, chances are you'll never see someone else that has that exact same quilt on their bed. I hope you'll check them out, and hopefully you'll find something that you like and have a completely different, fresh, fun look in your bedroom. So Kelly, what's your crush today?
My crush today is a free Audible original. So if you have an Audible subscription, you can listen to this for free. It's Emma by Jane Austen. The primary reader is Emma Thompson. Absolutely love her. But there are several other people who also are reading along. One of them is Mrs. Bates, Joanna Froggatt. So I think you guys will really enjoy it. It's a great version of a classic. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. And remember, we are here to inspire you to create a beautiful home. Until next time. Want to talk to us? Well, we really want to talk to you. So let's schedule a design consult. Anita and I are here to give you individualized, actionable advice on how to create the beautiful home you want and deserve. It's so easy to schedule a design consult with us. Simply click the link in the show notes or head to decoratingtipsandtricks.com/consult. When we talk to you on the scheduled time, we will be ready with so many great tips, advice, and yes, tricks. So sign up today for a design consult. We can't wait to talk to you.